Hi, my name's Joel Bolton and I'm the Regional Vice President here at Gartner Supply Chain Practice, and I'm here at the O2 Intercontinental Hotel in London for the 2018 European Supply Chain Conference, the largest gathering of senior supply chain executives in Europe. Now I'm going to go inside and speak to some supply chain solution providers, some senior supply chain leaders and some Gartner analysts to see what they think are some of the most pressing and innovative supply chain practices of today. So let's go inside and check it out.
You know, for me, AI is exciting, right? It's not a question of if for anybody, it's just a question of when and when it fits into the organization. But I see the need more and more today that you need to replace some elements of people with AI, right? And they're making better decisions, they're making more economical decisions. I think it's absolutely critical.
So, you know, artificial intelligence has many different components, and I think the one that we really need to focus on is actually machine learning.
Yeah.
Why machine learning? Very simple, because, you know, machine learning really deals with big data,
Yeah.
uncovering patterns into, you know, the data that you provided, and that actually helps you making better decisions. Now, supply chain inherently has to do with a lot of data, and it is beyond the human being to really recognize these patterns, okay? So I think you know, artificial intelligence, and namely machine learning, is a key trend. We need to think hard about that because there's danger in machine learning as well. So we need to monitor that carefully, but I think the benefits far outweigh the problems.
Well, AI is a very interesting technology, and I think there's a great expectation from supply chain leaders, chief supply chain officer, about automating decision making, right? So I'm just out of a workshop, and actually one of the greater discussion is how can we automate, how can we have a tool that help us take decisions, informed decisions, because there's so much data around, and you need to have an automated decision making, and AI is perfect.
Yeah.
So I would say at the moment it's a little more hype than really reality. I think at the moment at Schenker we have roughly 40 different initiatives and projects already running under the umbrella of blockchain. I would say from my gut feeling 70% are always marketing and a hype, but our customer likes to have something with blockchain. But I think there are 20-30% where it makes completely sense. So we have a vineyard, for example, in Australia where it makes completely sense. And when you think about that customers are willing to get their money much more faster, or manufacturers get their money when they manufacture something. And we have to really, it's a secure thing also when it comes to 3D printing, for example. So when somebody is printing your spare part, and directly when you are sending me the file, I'm printing it, and in the moment when I'm printing it, you get your money.
Yeah.
So there blockchain makes completely sense. And there are some areas where it makes sense, but at the moment we have an observation on that, and we are following the market trends, and we are still very active on that topic. And I think it's getting more and more impressive and important in the next few months.
You know, I think just that whole traceability piece, that whole end-to-end, and having, you know, almost that exception reporting as part of it as well is very important. So that's going to be a game changer, definitely.
Interesting question. It is hyping in a sense, everybody's talking about, but it's also probably the technology that is expected to give more to supply chain in the future. But the Gartner, we say that it's 10 years for plateau, so there's still a lot to do. However, it's really transformational for supply chain, and so companies don't have to wait 10 years before. They need to do it now, start testing it.
You know, I think it depends where you are. So, you know, for me, if you're in banking or if you're in pharmaceuticals, and you have traceability, probably an absolute essential. What I love about Gartner is we prepare our executives for is it hype or is it reality? And when the board asks you or the CEO asks you, what do you do with that, right? And so I think by industry it varies. I think blockchain is something that you need to be aware of and explore. When you get into it, I think is a question of what industry you're in, where you are in your relative maturity.
Very important. The big issues for companies today is really about having too much data and not being able to harness the power of the data. So we have a name here that is digital obesity. Companies have access to data across the end-to-end supply chain, but they don't have yet technology, processes and knowledge in place to really harness all this data together.
It's crucial. So if you look, for example, on inventory, if you have inventory visibility across the supply chain, not only within the different boundaries of the company, but beyond that to customers, you'd see by far different decision-making process that may happen across. It might be to prioritize different inventory and different channels based on the inventory in each channel, and prioritize different customers. So it drives totally a different decision-making versus the one that a company might take internally.
What people really want to get out of analytics is right insight into what is really hidden in the data. That's also why artificial intelligence and machine learning is so important. So on that basis, there's not a shadow of a doubt. But I think we should not confuse two things. One is the shiny objects, somewhere, and then the underlying information. And really, there's not a shadow of a doubt that we absolutely need to look into that. But we really need to make sure that the underlying data actually supports what is then on the top.
I'd say first of all, there has never been a better time to work in supply chain than right now. I've worked in supply chain for 25 years, and I can tell you that 25 years ago supply chain was not in the state it's in today. It didn't have the same profile, but today supply chain really has a seat at the table with the most senior executives. So for people starting their careers in supply chain, I would say it's important to really understand the disciplines of supply chain, to understand all of the different elements of the supply chain across planning, procurement, manufacturing, logistics, customer service. I would advise people to spend some time in each of these areas, just understanding the different elements of each of these parts of the supply chain, because as you progress in your career, these will all hopefully merge together, and that's invaluable experience to get right from the very beginning. So just really to understand that.
I think, definitely absorb yourself in as much of this in terms of the new technologies that you can. Certainly understand it, take account of it. Not necessarily need to be the early adopter on every occasion, but certainly definitely be aware of it, and then decide what point is right for your business to get on board in terms of that journey. Whether it's as an early adopter or whether it's as more mature technology, and as it comes out the other end of the hype cycle. Really.
Get equipped in terms of technology, because that's going to change dramatically over the past few years, but also understand the business language and speak to your commercial leaders, get acquainted with the financial acumen, and be the best that you can be.
Perfect. So you've just heard from a handful of topics that have been discussed here at the 2018 Gartner Supply Chain Conference. And there's been many more topics discussed, because we're all aware of the importance of raising the profession of supply chain, from moving supply chain from being seen as a cost center to being a competitive weapon or a competitive differentiator. And here at Gartner, we take supply chain extremely seriously from an end-to-end perspective through plan, source, make, and deliver. So if you're interested in learning more about Gartner research and Gartner supply chain and what we do and how we work with our customers, then please feel free to contact the details at the bottom of the screen, and me and the team will be happy to contact you and have a discussion about that. Speak to you soon.